What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another FPL transfer talk video. And we're going to start off by talking about some of the best players to buy for game week 8, and we're going to start off with that man there, Phil Foden. For me, this is a player that you should be strongly considering to buy for game week 8, and I know this might be a controversial one, but in my opinion, he is being massively ignored by a lot of people within the FPL community. At the time of recording, he is only 5.5% owned, and the first thing that I want to talk about, guys, is the fixtures. Of course, this is a player that I have owned myself for my FPL team in the last 2 game weeks, and it hasn't really worked out, right, because he hasn't delivered. He only got 1 point in game week 6 and 2 points in game week 7. However, moving forward, I really do believe that Phil Foden is a player that you should be looking at, because I do believe he'll start in the next few games, and the next few games are absolutely fantastic, right? It's Wolves away in game week 8, which is a great fixture, right? Wolves have been shocking defensively this season, the worst defensive team in the league so far this season. They've conceded the most goals as well. They've been all over the place, and this could be a really big score for Manchester City, and this could be a game where Phil Foden starts his FPL run, in my opinion, and starts really his Premier League season by getting some goals and assists. And then after the Wolves game is Southampton at home. Again, another great fixture for Man City. After that, it's Bournemouth away, then Brighton away. These next 4 games for Manchester City are absolutely fantastic, and I think Phil Foden could be a great differential, man. In fact, in my opinion, I'm going to say it now, the best differential to own. And I think, genuinely speaking, he could just help skyrocket your rank, in my opinion, because he's so low owned and he's so explosive. I think for me, what I want to say to everyone is, let's not pretend, let's not forget what Phil Foden is about. Let's not pretend that Phil Foden didn't win the player of the season last season. Let's not pretend that Phil Foden isn't a bona fide world-class elite footballer. This is a fantastic player. This isn't a player that this isn't an inconsistent player like sort of Marcus Rashford, for example, that one season is good, one season is bad. No, this is Phil Foden. This is a world-class, a bona fide world-class player. So this is a player that we know can get you goals and assists. I mean, last season, he got 19 goals and 8 assists in 33 starts. I think for me, Phil Foden is a fantastic player. He's a great footballer, and for me, I think the main concern that everyone has with Phil Foden is his minutes, right? Is Phil Foden going to start games, or is he going to be on the bench? Well, for me, I think he will start games. I really do, because look, KDB's injured, and yes, I know he's coming back from injury, but I don't think he'll be match fit. And like I said, I don't really see, Phil Foden did start the last game against Fulham, so why is he not going to start the next game? And I know we're dealing with Pep Guardiola here, but it just makes sense to start Phil Foden. I don't think he's going to rush Kevin De Bruyne back from injury, and I think Pep knows that he sort of has to start Phil Foden, because when he didn't play with Phil Foden in the side, they didn't really play well against Newcastle. So yeah, I do really predict Phil Foden to start the next few games. I really don't see a world where Phil Foden is benched. So if Phil Foden is going to start, I think we can all agree that he's a fantastic option. So yeah, like I said, the main concern with Phil Foden as an FPL asset is his minutes, right? A lot of people think he's a minutes risk, but in my opinion, I think moving forward, he will continue to start games. Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth, Brighton. I do think he, at least as a bare minimum, starts 3 out of the next 4 games, right? So that's why for me, Phil Foden is a fantastic option. And as I said, you guys know I've already got him. If you've been following my FPL journey so far this season, you guys know I've already got Phil Foden in my team, and I'm really happy with owning Phil Foden from this point on moving forward. So yeah, guys, like I said, Phil Foden playing for the best, one of the best teams in the league, Manchester City, with great fixtures. I think it's worth the risk. A lot of people will say it's a risk going for Phil Foden. Of course, guys, it is a risk, but guys, I'm going to be honest, I think you have to take some risks in FPL, and I think this is a good calculated risk. I don't think the risk is a big enough of a risk to actually turn down the opportunity for going for such an explosive asset like Phil Foden. So I just really think it's worth taking that risk, and like I said, it can help skyrocket your rank, in my opinion. And of course, I am no expert, so you guys might just think I'm waffling, but this is truly just my opinion. And look, one thing I want to point out as well, guys, on Phil Foden is the next 3 games, right? Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth. Let's compare that to some of the other sort of premium assets in the game, right? Saka, who a lot of people have in their FPL teams, he's got Bournemouth, Liverpool, Newcastle. So while Phil Foden is going to be playing Southampton in game week 9, Bukayo Saka is going to be playing Liverpool at home. in game week 10, when Phil Foden is going to be playing against Bournemouth away, Saka's going to be playing against Newcastle away. So I just think there's serious gains to be made. And let's have a look at and compare it to Cole Palmer, for example, guys. In game week 8, when Phil Foden is playing against Wolves away from home, Cole Palmer is going to be playing against Liverpool away from home. In game week 10, in game week 9, sorry, when Phil Foden is going to be playing against Southampton at home, Cole Palmer is going to be playing against Newcastle at home. And then in game week 10, when Cole Palmer is playing United away, Phil Foden will be playing against Bournemouth away. So for me, it's night and day. It really is night and day here. And like I said, we're not talking about a crap player. We're talking about one of the best players in the Premier League with these amazing fixtures. So for me, I just think Phil Foden's a great differential. I could go on and on and on, guys. I really could. But yeah, for me, he's just a great FPL asset to own, and I definitely would buy him for game week 8. So next up, we do have the Spurs Attackers, and I really do think you should be considering buying them for game week 8 onwards. I think Solanke, James Maddison and Brennan Johnson are all fantastic options. And for me, I'll start off talking about the fixtures, because I think this is a very important reason as to why you should be targeting the Spurs assets. I mean, their fixtures are absolutely fantastic. They've got West Ham at home in game week 8, a really good fixture, guys, and then Palace away in game week 9, Villa at home in game week 10, and Ipswich at home in game week 11. Even after the City game in game week 12, it's Fulham, Bournemouth, Chelsea and Southampton. For me, I think if you bring in a Spurs player now, they are pretty much a good long-term hold, and that's why I really do like them. Now, I want to start off talking about Dominic Solanke, right? I think Dominic Solanke is a great option, and of course, all players here are great options. But for me, if you're looking for a forward spot, then I would definitely be going for Dominic Solanke, man, because I just think, look, I always say this, but in Ange Postecoglou's system, they will continue to attack teams. They will continue to create a lot of chances. And I just look at Dominic Solanke as a number 9 in a system that creates a lot of goal scoring opportunities as a player that you should really just be going for, to be honest with you, because as I said, Spurs create a lot of chances. Dominic Solanke, you know he's going to play, you know he's going to get 90 minutes. So if Spurs are creating a lot of chances, why not go for their number 9? And some people may say, well, look, you know, some people might have watched Spurs and they sort of think that Solanke's been sort of dropping deeper to facilitate link-up play and things like that. But honestly, throughout the course of the season so far, although Dominic Solanke, you might argue, is dropping slightly deeper at times to facilitate play and link up with other the other Tottenham attackers, he still is arriving in the box. He still is getting shots off in the box, which is an important factor to take into account, right? He still is getting those good opportunities in and around the penalty area. So for me, I look at Dominic Solanke as a really good long-term set and forget option if you were to go for him, because the fixtures are just so good. So look, that's why I do like Solanke, and James Maddison as well. Again, another player that's just so involved in the attacking play for Tottenham. I just really like him as an option, and of course he takes set pieces as well, so he's got the sort of multiple routes to FPL points, right, being on corners and free kicks as well. So I do like James Maddison. I think his open play goal threat is also increasing as well. I've noticed that as well when watching James Maddison. He seems to be getting more shots off, and again, being sort of more in and around the penalty area. So I really do like James Maddison as an option. And for me, Brennan Johnson, I think this is a no-brainer. I think form has to be considered sometimes when making decisions in FPL and when thinking about players to transfer in and out of your team. Form has to be considered, and right now Brennan Johnson is in probably the form of his life right now. I think it's like 6 goals in his last 6 games. He just continues to score goals. He continues to get into really good positions, and I just think at the moment, man, Brennan Johnson is going to be a really good player to own. I think at his price, 6.5 million, only 4.8% owned at the time of recording, with brilliant fixtures coming up. I think he could be a really good differential. So yeah, I really do like Brennan Johnson as an option. And as well, on the eye test, like I said, the positions he's taken up are really good, and Spurs like to utilize their wide players a lot as well, right? So I think Brennan Johnson will continue to be involved not only in the goals but the assists as well. So I do like Brennan Johnson as an option, and like I said, just Spurs as a whole are really good going forward. As you guys can see here, if you look at the XG, they actually sit top of the Premier League table so far this season for expected goals, which is really nice. It shows that they just continue to attack. Of course, You know, they may concede goals, but look, we're just talking about their attackers here, and yeah, their attackers for me are really good options. So yeah, I really do like the Spurs attackers, and I would definitely be considering buying them for game week 8 onwards. So I also wanted to talk to you guys about Ollie Watkins and why, in my opinion, you should be looking to transfer him out of your FPL teams. I think this is a time where you should be realistically looking to get him out of your team, in my opinion. I'll start off talking about the fixtures. As you guys can see, it's Fulham away in game week 8. Then he's got Bournemouth at home, which of course is a good fixture. But then Spurs, Liverpool, Palace, that's good. But then Chelsea. I think this fixture run from game week 8 to about game week 13 isn't really that good for Aston Villa, especially when you factor in they're going to be having Champions League matches in between these games, but also the threat of John Duran replacing Ollie Watkins for early substitutions as well. For me, I genuinely would consider selling Ollie Watkins. Number one, if you don't have Solanke in your team, because I think Dominic Solanke is a great option to own from game week 8 onwards, like we did speak about earlier. So for me, I'd be looking to replace Ollie Watkins for like a Dominic Solanke, for example. I think this is a great entry point to start owning Dominic Solanke because he's got West Ham at home. But not only that, if you don't own Matheus Cunha, for example, okay, look, Matheus Cunha does have Man City in game week 8, so you might hold Watkins for one more week, but after that Man City game, he's got Brighton, Palace, Southampton, Fulham, Bournemouth, Everton, West Ham, Ipswich, Leicester. I could go on and on, but you guys can see it's a great fixture run for Wolves. So again, I think I'd rather own a player like Cunha, who also gets 90 minutes and is on penalties for this fixture run, instead of someone like Ollie Watkins, especially because he's much cheaper than Ollie Watkins as well. And the same thing applies to Dominic Solanke. They're both a lot cheaper. But also, another key talking point is the big man, Erling Haaland. If you do not own Erling Haaland and you've got sort of 9 million invested in Ollie Watkins, I'd definitely be looking to transfer out Ollie Watkins to free up some money to get Erling Haaland in your FPL team. For me, I think non-Haaland owners are going to suffer a lot in these next few game weeks if they continue to not own him. I really do have that opinion, because these fixtures are just so good for Man City. I could see this game ending 5-0. I could see this game ending 6 to 8-0. I'm going to be totally honest. I wouldn't be surprised if Man City break the Premier League goals record. But I think as a minimum, they score 5 goals against Wolves, 5 goals against Southampton. They could score 3+ goals against Bournemouth. They could score 4-5 goals against Brighton. Because look, I'm going to be honest. Brighton, Bournemouth, Southampton and Wolves are bad defenses, right? And Erling Haaland, we know what he can do. We know what Erling Haaland can do. So for me, if you don't have Erling Haaland in your team, and you've got that much money invested in Watkins, I'd definitely be looking to remove Ollie Watkins to free up some money to get Erling Haaland, man. Because like I said, I generally think people that don't have Erling Haaland in their FPL teams from game week 8 to game week 11 are going to suffer a lot. So yeah, for me, I just think there's a lot more better players that you can own ahead of Ollie Watkins from this moment in time. So that's why I'd genuinely be looking to get rid of Ollie Watkins for like a Solanke, for like a Cunha, or to free up money for Erling Haaland, or to even invest that money into midfield and buy Phil Foden. Because look, Phil Foden and Ollie Watkins are basically the same price, right? Phil Foden costs 9.2 million and Ollie Watkins is 9.1 million. So they're essentially the same price. Could you invest that money in midfield and go for Phil Foden with that money? Yes, you could. So that's also another thing that you could do. And as I said, Man City have such good fixtures. I would definitely rather own Phil Foden over Ollie Watkins. So for me, I think timing is everything in FPL, and sort of trying to get it right when to jump off players and when to jump on players. And right now, in my opinion, I would definitely think this is a good time to jump off Ollie Watkins, because I just think his fixture run isn't that great, and I just think his potential for points isn't as high as players like Cunha, Foden, Haaland and Solanke, in my opinion, because this fixture run is pretty tough in my opinion. So yeah, that is my opinion. That's my thoughts on Ollie Watkins. That's what I do think about him as an FPL asset right now. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree. So next up, we do have the main man himself, Bryan Mbeumo. And I did say last week that you guys should buy him, but the first time was so nice, I had to say it twice. All right, Bryan Mbeumo is just that guy in FPL right now. It's as simple as that. It's another game. It's another goal. And for me, I just keep saying it, man. He's just a great long-term set and forget option. He's guaranteed 90 minutes. He's on penalties. And look, the penalty part's important because we just saw last game he scored a penalty. And you just know that he's going to play every single game. And even though in the next game he's going to be playing against Manchester United away from home, I'd still be buying Mbeumo because it's a great fixture again. Manchester United are terrible in my opinion, and look, I think Mbeumo will continue to rise in price as well, and that's another reason why I think you should just get Mbeumo as soon as possible. But even after the Man United game, he's playing against Ipswich, then Fulham, then Bournemouth, Everton, then Leicester. Guys, the long-term fixtures for Brentford and for Bryan Mbeumo are just simply fantastic, right? I feel like I sound like a broken record at the moment, but guys, Bryan Mbeumo is just amazing. He's an amazing FPL asset, and for me, if you don't have him already, what on earth are you doing? It's as simple as that. That's all I can really say. What on earth are you doing if you don't have this man in your FPL team? As I said, the fixtures are still pretty good for Brentford and Mbeumo, so yeah, look, for me, I just think it's a no-brainer. It really is a no-brainer. He's got 3 goals in his last 3 games, 6 goals in 7 Premier League games. He's just absolutely fantastic, man. So I would just be looking at getting Bryan Mbeumo. It's simple as that. For me, once you put Mbeumo in your team, you just don't have to worry about him. Unless he gets injured, you just keep him and you leave him there, no matter who he's playing against. He's that good. So yeah, for me, Bryan Mbeumo, he's a must-have, man. Go get him. So next up, we do have Dwight McNeil, and I sort of want to give you guys my opinion on why I think you should actually be buying Dwight McNeil. And my opinion on Dwight McNeil has slightly changed a bit, and I am sort of liking him more as an FPL asset, and I'll explain why right now. That is because I have noticed so far this season there has been a position change and a role change with Dwight McNeil. Compared to last season, when Dwight McNeil, his role in the team was to simply just play as an out-and-out left winger and sort of take the ball down the byline and whip across in. That's now changed. He's playing in the number 10 role, and instead you've got Harrison and Ndai occupying the wide spaces in the Everton system, right? So now Dwight McNeil is playing more centrally and sort of has more of a free role in the team. And for that reason, I actually do like him as an FPL asset because I think overall his goal involvement and his expected goal involvement will increase. You know, I think he'll get more goals playing in the number 10 role, and I think he'll rack up more assists as well, especially because he's still on set pieces. So I actually do like Dwight McNeil as an option because, like I said, when he's playing in that number 10 role, he's able to drift sort of in the right half spaces, in the left half spaces, and he's able to get into really good shooting positions centrally in and around the penalty area as well. And one thing I will say about McNeil is he is a fantastic ball striker, right? He's an amazing striker of the ball. His finishing, in my opinion, is actually quite good. So his long shots from in and around the penalty, from outside the penalty box, will be very effective because we've already seen it. You know, that first goal against Crystal Palace was absolutely fantastic, but that's not something new in Dwight McNeil's game. It's something he's shown that he can do throughout the Premier League season. So he's a fantastic ball striker. So him playing in that number 10 role, sort of occupying spaces outside the penalty box, will be beneficial because, you know, he'll be able to continually take those shots on goal. Like I said, he's a fantastic ball striker. So I like the fact that he's playing sort of in that number 10 role. And guys, the fixtures are really good. It's Ipswich away in game week 8, Fulham at home, slightly tougher game in game week 9, but then Southampton away in game week 10, and then West Ham away, and then Brentford at home in game week 11 and 12. I think these fixtures are actually really good. And like I said, in this new role that Dwight McNeil is playing in, I think that he could deliver in these games. I really do. And of course, another thing that's really good about Dwight McNeil is his route to points, right? Him being on set pieces is fantastic. You know, he's on the corners, he's on free kicks, and Everton are actually a really good team from set pieces as well. You know, they've got a lot of players that are good in the air. You know, Tarkowski, Dominic Calvert-Lewin as well. So and Brantford. So I really do think Dwight McNeil actually is quite a good FPL asset in my opinion to own right now. At first I was a little bit cold on Dwight McNeil. I wasn't really a big fan, but you know, after I've watched Everton throughout the season and I've noticed that his role has changed in the team, I slightly do like him as an option now. And something I want to show you guys, and something that I want to point out with Dwight McNeil, is his heat map, and I want to compare it from this season to last season. So this is his heat map from this Premier League season, right? So as you guys can see, he's occupying a lot of central areas. He's drifting, right? And playing in that number 10 role allows him to sort of drift into the left half space, into the right half space, and link up play. And that's exactly what you can see here, right? You can see that the sort of red areas are in that sort of right half space and left half space here as well. But also he's got some a lot of touches sort of centrally, as well, as you guys can see here. So look, I really do like Dwight McNeil as an option, and if you were to compare that to last season, right, you can see a massive difference. As I said, right, he last season, his role in the team was just simply to play as an out-and-out left winger, and that is shown here by his heat map, right? You guys can see here, absolutely ridiculous, just hugging the touchline, you know. And like I said, his role in the team was to play as a left winger, take the ball down the line and whip across in, and that's very, very different to what his role is now. You can see it's a lot more sporadic, and that's what I'm talking about. Because he's playing in that number 10 role, he's got more freedom, and I just think that's more beneficial for a player like Dwight McNeil. So yeah, look, that's just my opinion on Dwight McNeil. I really do think he's a good FPL option, and he's going to be having a lot more touches in the box now as well. That's another thing that I want to say. He's going to have a lot more touches in the box and a lot more touches centrally in those positions, which in my opinion will help him with getting more goals in the Premier League. So yeah, that's my opinion on Dwight McNeil. I actually do think his appeal as an FPL asset has sort of increased for me. I actually do think he is a pretty decent option. But one thing I will say is that you have to remember that McNeil does still play for Everton, all right? And Everton aren't this great attacking, high goal scoring, prolific team, right? So they are a team that will struggle to score goals throughout the Premier League season, I believe. I don't think you're going to see Everton scoring lots and lots of goals in the Premier League. So that's one negative with Dwight McNeil. But like I said, what I will say, at his price point, I think he is one of the better options, especially given the fact that he's got such good fixtures. So I think this is a really good entry point to own Dwight McNeil, right? Ipswich away in Game Week 8 is a really good entry point, and the upcoming fixtures are really good. But of course, you got to remember, he's playing for Everton. Everton aren't this crazy good high goal scoring team. So yeah, that's my overall opinion on Dwight McNeil. I think from an individual point of view, and just speaking on Dwight McNeil, I think he has definitely improved as an FPL asset in my opinion. But of course, you got to remember, he's still playing for Everton. But yeah, that's my opinion on Dwight McNeil. Yeah, I'm not against it, man. I definitely would consider buying him for Game Week 8. But guys, I really do hope you did enjoy the video. That is going to be it. Smash a like if you did enjoy. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And guys, I will catch you in the next one. But until then, I'm out. Peace.